Welcome, dear listener, to something quite new. It's called Podtime Stories, and it's made just for you. Chronicles dark and grotty, the littler ear may find it too nasty, but you've nothing to fear. These tales, they seep out of a most twisted mind. It belongs to Luke Aldridge, and I know that you'll find that they tickle the brain and the soul in equal measure. Lurk deep down here for your listening pleasure. So come with me, friends, and we'll share this account. As some may make you think just a smallish amount, but if you are worried that this tale could be true, I'm sure that it's nonsense, quite sure. Now, are you? Welcome to Podtime Stories.
No More Picking Orson. Read by Orson Aldridge. The music was composed and performed by Ollie Weston, and the accompanying image was created by Karl Hewitt.
Orson was a normal boy. He did stuff just like you. He loved to shout and run and laugh, and play some football too. He lived with Mum and Daddy, and his siblings 3. Their crazy dog called Obi, and a dried-up bumblebee. One day he came back home from school. His nose did start to twitch. He rubbed it with his finger, but that didn't fix the itch. He took that itching finger and wondered, would it fit if I tried to itch that itchy part by sticking it up a bit? So up went Orson's finger, but immediately he froze. He wasn't quite expecting all those bogies up his nose. It seemed a little crowded, so he thought, I'll clear them out. I'll do some deep nose mining, because nobody is about. Some were wet and slimy, which he wiped upon his shirt. You couldn't really see it amongst the ketchup and the dirt. Next, he excavated all the crusty ones and more. They didn't stick together, so he dropped them on the floor. Gooey ones were up next. Some were big and some were small. They came out rather easily and rolled into a ball. He took the ball and bounced it off the ceiling, off the walls. Maybe he could use it instead of tennis balls. But there was one last bogey that put up quite the fight. So Orson took that finger and shoved with all his might. But little did he realise that his finger would get stuck. Little Orsy Porsy had used up all his luck. If you see a boy the next time that you go out, with a finger up his nostril, don't stare and please don't shout. It's probably Orson Porson. His finger stuck, I'm told. This nasal archaeologist and his quest for snotty gold. Just don't end up like Orson. That's what I say to you. So when you do have bogies, just reach for a tissue.
No More Picking Orson was written by me, Luke Aldridge. The story was read by Orson Aldridge. The music was composed and performed by Ollie Weston, and the accompanying image was created by Karl Hewitt. Editing, sound production and general oral wizardry by Handsome Bob Field. The introduction was read by Neil Roberts, saxophone and clarinet was played by Toby James, guitar by Simon Coleman, keys by 80s Dave Oliver, bass by Andrew McKinney. The theme was written by me, I also played drums and stuff. The Podtime Stories logo was created by Martin Herity and the pod was written and produced by me. Podtime Stories is a Papa Bear Chronicles production. Text and recording copyright Luke Aldridge 2024. The right of Luke Aldridge to be identified as the author of this work has been asserted by him in accordance with the Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988. All rights reserved. Hello, lovely listener. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the podcast, the very first episode, proper, and for staying this long and sticking about for the DVD extras. It's lovely to have you here, and it gives me a chance to give you a bit more information, tell you a bit about the people involved, and a bit more about the story, really, if there's anything more to say. So I'd usually start with a bit of information about the reader of the story. I hope that it's fairly obvious that that's my son, Orson. He's 9 as we record this in October 2024. The story itself was written when he was 5. He'd just turned 5 the month before. It wasn't particularly because he was a massive nose picker. I'd just like to say that from the off. I think he was picking his nose, and I think a story came out of that because I thought it was funny. Yeah, it was lovely to have Orson read this story, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's the stories that are coming your way in the not too distant future are professional actors, people who have decades of experience, trained, studied, blah, 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 blah. But I thought it was lovely to have Orson actually sort of read his story written about him and for him. He was a bit hesitant about getting involved with another story where I changed a name so that he wasn't sort of the main character, which will come later on down the line, down the podcast series. I think it'll probably be fairly obvious when you hear it. But he didn't really want to be associated with that one. He has recorded a few bits and pieces throughout the different stories. He's done sort of the odd line or a couple of words here or there. But no, it's lovely to have him actually sort of read this one proper. So the other guys involved, Ollie Weston provided the music. Ollie's an old mate. I've known him since we did our postgrad at the Guildhall. We had mutual friends, and that was sort of a good icebreaker. My oldest friend, Kev, from primary school, was already friends with John, a mate of Ollie's, so there was kind of a connection there, and we got on very well straight away. Ollie is a fantastic musician, fantastic educator. He's a saxophonist, clarinetist, so he does various bits and pieces. You can check out Ollie's website, ollieweston.com. That's OLLIE, Weston, WESTON, ollieweston.com. I'm just going to give you the bit of blurb about Ollie. Since graduating from Leeds College of Music and the Guildhall School of Music, that's where I met him, he's established a busy and varied career. As a saxophonist, he's performed in live and studio settings with artists as diverse as Amy Winehouse, Tim Minchin, Bonobo, Frank Turner, the London Jazz Orchestra, the Hackney Colliery Band, Ambient Jazz Ensemble, and Nelson Riddle Orchestra, to name but a few. He's also the co-leader of the jazz quartet Time is of the Essence, and he composes and arranges material for that ensemble and others. He's worked in studio and theatre settings with performances on many West End and touring shows, including Chicago, Dreamgirls, Songs for Nobodies, and 2 critically acclaimed seasons at the Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. As a session musician, he's worked in many leading studios on film and TV and commercials, as well as working as a session player and arranger from his home studio. He's active in music education, currently the course leader for the jazz department at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, the junior school there. He also runs the jazz ensemble, big band and theory classes. He's written a series of exploring jazz books for shot music that are published worldwide and feature on exam syllabus in the UK. So that's the official bump from Ollie's website. So do check out his website, have a look at what he's doing. You can also find his social media stuff, Instagram and Twitter. So give him a follow. It's always nice to support the guys that are involved in this. But that's the official bump. Ollie's a delightful, gorgeous human being. Very, very lovely dude. We had a real giggle at college, and it was a pleasure to get him on this. I'd sort of approached him sort of saying, maybe clarinet, maybe bass clarinet, could be baritone sax, do what you want to do, whatever you feel like, whatever you feel works, just go for it. I didn't give him any more guidance than that, because I knew that guys and girls I've asked to be involved in the music making side of the podcast, they're all people that I've known for a very long time, and I know their stuff very well, and I know that I can just sort of give them a thing and let them get on with it, really. One of the lovely things about doing things like the podcast is that as a musician for many, many years, I got very used to collaborating with different people, whether it was playing in bands or composing and all that sort of stuff. So it becomes kind of everyday, day-to-day stuff, collaborating with people. When you get into writing, it can be a very, very solitary thing. I think that the musician in me has kind of driven me towards types of writing that naturally works well collaborating with other people. Working on comic books, my drawing's terrible, so that kind of forced me to collaborate with brilliant artists. One of them being the fabulous Karl Hewitt, who provides the great visual for this story. We'll talk about Karl in a minute. But also on the podcast, there's a great sort of collaboration element to it, and it just means that I can include musician friends, give them a thing, and what comes back is completely delightful. Hearing what somebody has done with a story that you've written, both in a kind of oral sense and a visual sense. So Karl is a guy that I met basically by sort of getting involved with the comic book scene on social media. About halfway through doing my screenwriting masters, COVID hit. All of the classes went from being in person to being online. We found that we were able to do a few extra bits and pieces because it appeared that the kind of course budgets went a little bit further. So we ended up with a few extra classes. Brilliant tutor that I got on with very well, David Lemon. He ran the module that was basically sort of all the other bits and pieces to do with screenwriting that you could do. We looked at audio dramas, video games, all sorts of bits and pieces. And a workshop that had a big impact on me was a kind of an extra that shouldn't really have been on the course. It was with James Peaty. He's a writer for titles like DC's Supergirl. He also writes for 2000 AD, the British weekly anthology comic that's been going since 1977. Doing that workshop with James, organised by David, was a bit of a turning point for me. I suddenly realised that basically everything that I'd written wasn't actually a screenwriting project. It was a comic book script. That's quite a revelation to have halfway through a master's course, that you're actually on completely the wrong course. But there we go. It led me to getting in touch with various people online. I joined a bunch of Facebook comic book groups, was basically just chatting to people, commenting on art that I saw that I liked. And Karl was the first person I got chatting to. We ended up doing a few bits and pieces together. He very kindly took a pair of characters that I was working on and brought them to life. You can see some of that stuff at pbccomics.com. The pair of characters in question, Burger and Ralph, are time travel enforcement agency agents. One is a guy in his late 20s. He's got a mechanical arm, so that's Burger. And then Ralph is a human brain inside the body of an 800-pound grizzly bear. Various hijinks ensue. That ended up becoming my master's project. I wrote a TV series script for Burger and Ralph, and Karl very kindly got involved and did all the visuals. It just meant my master's project had such a brilliant visual element to it, and really sort of took it from the big words on a page to being something that was tangible and brilliant and you could reach out and touch. We did a few comics together as well. We've done a couple of short Burger and Ralph stories, as well as Super Magic Monkey Samurai, which is a kids' ancient history feudal Japan set story, which then jumps forward into the modern day. And also Phaser Force, which is a kids' sci-fi adventure. Yeah, you can see all of that stuff, as I say, at pbccomics.com. Those couple of kids' stories are part of the Papa Bear Chronicles junior book, and then you can see other Burger and Ralph stuff in some of the other books, but you can find all that stuff on the website if you're interested. Karl is a brilliant comic artist. He also does murals, a lot of stuff for kind of kids' bedrooms, public spaces, all of that kind of stuff, but he's a brilliant, wonderful artist. There'll be Karl's socials on the website, thepapabearchronicles.com, so please check out Karl's work as well, and Ollie's work too, because they're both fantastic artists in their own right. One of the things that I would point you to in terms of Ollie's stuff is there's a brilliant Joni Mitchell project that he's involved with, Hajira, and there's some stuff on his website on the music video page. So do check that stuff out. They're gigging all over the place, so you can check them out live as well. I think that's enough waffle for one episode, but I hope you found that interesting. Some information about the guys that were involved with the story, and not a massively deep and meaningful story itself, but hopefully just a silly one that's all about bogies, isn't it? Thanks for listening. If you are able, it would be brilliant to have some ratings, some reviews, some sharing, all the usual kind of stuff. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and also the Podbean app. You can listen to future episodes there. Please subscribe, like, share, all the usual business. And if you've got time to write a review, if you like it, that would be brilliant. Thank you very much. And don't forget to check out the website, thepapabearchronicles.com. You can find our social media stuff from there. We're on Instagram and Facebook at the Papa Bear Chronicles. Thanks for listening. A new story will be coming your way this time next week. Stay safe till then and sleep tight. Don't let the pod bugs bite.